I can't believe what a beautiful day it is outside. I maybe want to change like the angle of this. No, it's fine where it is. Those bricks and like that ray of light that's coming by those bricks. You know, I was reading something recently about Newton's third law, about how equal and opposite forces exist together. And I want to let you know that if you come to any place in your life where you've made significant progress, right? Like you've pushed through a lot of stuff in your life, that you should know that the opposite forces will be with you. And in the opposite forces that are going to be with you, yes, of course the challenge is going to be there. And so whatever direction that you're going in, right, physically, mentally, financially, right, and maybe you're going in one direction and you experience the others as well, right? The other opposing forces are with you as well, right? Like let's say you're trying to improve your financial health, right? And the forces of opposition in your mind are coming, right? Or you're trying to improve your physical health, and again, the forces of opposition in your mind are coming, right? Sometimes life puts us in such drastic, situations where there's so much to overcome, right? And in that immense climb, right? Those, hi baby, did you hear that? Immense climb? Yeah, you can't eat the grass, you're very cute. There's a bunny right here, let's see. Can we get you in the camera? Where are you? Oh, here we are. So in that immense climb, yes, we experience a lot of those oppositional forces. And you might be walking around today carrying a boatload, a whole load of those oppositional forces. And I just want you to know, right, if this is you, if you've had spiritual awakening in your life, or just anything in your life where you're like, oh my gosh, I'm basically like just surviving every single moment, like fear, like those oppositional forces, right? I'm living with them. I experience them in my body, right? And I'm literally pushing through them, and I'm pushing through them as in I'm pushing through them in the way that I actually can, which will allow me to lessen those forces, right? And just to keep going, right? So often what happens is we actually fight those things, and there's fighting that occurs in our body, which we're not even like aware of how that actually happens, right? We're not privy to that information. So what we do is we actually just, we continue resisting the presence of those oppositional forces. And there's something different about actually pushing through them, right? In the pushing through of them, they're almost allowed to exist, right? They're allowed to come up, but we still make the progress that's significant. So there was a period in my life where I actually had to sit and be with these oppositional forces and experience the resistance and actually create resistance to them, right? It was the process of seeking and questioning, right? So questioning the existence of the thoughts in the first place, which then made me understand later on, oh, actually, there's actually no reason to question them, because I'm actually perfectly fine the way that I am. And whatever was questioning him in the first place, maybe I was just doing it out of suffering, or I thought there was something wrong with me, right? So that's why I started examining my mind, examining my thoughts. I don't actually know the reason why. I remember there was a lot of suffering to begin with. And so the suffering was something that I was experiencing energetically, right? So the way of questioning the thoughts actually just really helped improve my energy. And then later on, right, as I started in the embodiment phase of this journey of awakening, right? Later on in that embodiment phase, I saw that the questioning itself was actually, that was almost wrong. It was something that my body was like not able to handle anymore, right? The energy of that. So without the questioner, right, without the seeker, there's just the ego. There's just the ego that began the whole thing. And so what you actually see is that there's actually nothing wrong with me. Again, at the same time, you also see, oh my gosh, this is my reality, right? It's like the thoughts that I'm having, right? Like the same personality, the same childhood personality of my mom not loving me or being afraid of my mom, right? Stuff like that. It's the same thing is happening, right? But now perhaps there's still a freedom, right? To take that seriously or to not take that seriously, I don't know. But then what could happen is that we don't even think about that, right? Because when you are achieving the thing that puts you into your higher state, right, then naturally, right, it elevates you in every single aspect of your life, right? So let's say you do the thing that you love, and then you walk away from that, right? And then if you are in that situation where you're afraid of your mother, right, naturally, right, you have more power in that, like you have more like surety in that situation, right? So where you can actually say, like, you know, it ends up coming out, right? Whatever you want to say or whatever you need to say, like it just ends up coming out. So that's also the beauty of, you know, doing the thing that we love, that we're so attracted to, that puts us in a higher state. And so it's so important to remember that those activities, those tasks are actually there to connect you to the truth of who you are, right? And to pursue those things relentlessly, because when you actually pursue those things, other people benefit just as much as you do. And this is another law of physics, right? Another law of the universe. This is how it works. When something comes out of us, it is not just for us, it is for another human being. Our service is literally the same thing that helps us, is the same thing that helps another human being. The same thing that we're trying to push through in our own life, right? And then we produce, right, that outcome, that result. That's actually the thing that the other person needs as much as we need to push through it. And I have that example with my uncle in my life, who for 20 plus years has taken care of my family since my dad died. And I often think about him, that that's actually what he chose in his life, but he may have chosen that very thing because the alternative didn't seem like something that he wanted to or could live with as much as not showing up for my family, right? And so the oppositional forces that he has had to experience in those things, of course, he's had to push through, and they've made him who he is today, right? But we all know about those forces, right? And you pursue something long enough, like in my own life, right? The journey that I've been on to you know, to really alleviate mental suffering has been again a journey of around that same time, right? 20 years, 25 years, something like that. And so to know that actually the forces that I, and the growth that I've experienced, right, that has made me the person that I am today, also very similarly, right, the oppositional forces that I've experienced, my uncle has experienced those oppositional forces in his life, right, in his journey, right, in his service, that looks different than mine, right? But he's countered those forces, because anytime we go in any direction, right, for progress, for change, right, to show up as a certain version of ourselves, right, to show up as a certain human being, or to do something, just to show up and do the thing, right, then we experience that, right? We experience the oppositional forces, and those things, you know, it does get better, right? The more you find your flow state, the more you find perfect focus, the more you let yourself go, right? The more you like realize, oh, actually this is my state, right? Like with my eyes closed, or speaking at this pace, right? Or speaking fast, or looking like this, right? However it is that you decide to look when you actually do it, right? This is my flow state. This is my truth as a human being. And I know that, and I'm ready for that, right? Like I bask in that. Like I just know this is my truth. And those oppositional forces, right, are the things that I know, right? Because they're the things that come up, and they're like, you know, they're telling me the opposite. They're telling me like, oh, like, you know, fear about my health, or, you know, which ultimately is believing that I can't do this. I can't sit here and actually do this. Or fear about the way that I look, that tells me like, you know, that's actually telling me this is my truth. Right? And it's such an honor. It's such an honor to like be able to work through, right? Like, because you actually get to see that this is actually who I'm supposed to be. And the more that I let go of those things, right? Again, it's different from fighting or even being adamant, right? It's like the letting go is where the subtlety is, right? The letting go is where the experience of flow state is. It's quite different. And I actually have experienced this because with my health in the last year plus, I was actually experiencing what I was doing was a lot of like fighting it, right? And trying to push through it, but like resisting it and pushing through it, which actually, of course, like will make your health worse, right? And so how do we find the balance, right? It's something that we experience internally, right? It's a subtle change, it's a subtle shift where I'm letting go, right? I'm actually letting go. So when fears come up and I actually am in my flow state, right, and I'm speaking, right, I'm letting go of the fear that says, you know, you shouldn't have your eyes closed, right? You know, when you're speaking, right? A fear of like appearing a certain way, right? Or I'm letting go of the fear that says, you know, you look a certain way and you shouldn't, you should have put on something nicer, right? Like literally on my walk downstairs, the steps of my house to come out to my backyard and to record this, I had those two exact same fears, right? Health, right? And then my appearance, and the most beautiful about those, I gotta tell you, is my health, because that thing woke me up like nothing else. right? And if you have something in your life that wakes you up like nothing else, like literally, you need to praise God. Like you need to just get on your knees right now and just bow, right? Because that thing wakes you up like nothing else. And you're gonna see, like, yes, that's a process in itself, but to actually have this wisdom that I'm now sharing from my own experience, right? The difference between fighting something and actually letting go, right? Fighting something means that I'm in opposition to that thing. I'm working with that thing, but now I'm trying to oppose it, right? I'm now trying to like fight it, right? And letting go simply means I'm working with the truth. I'm working in the truth of who I am, and I'm letting go of that thing. It's quite subtle, but the energy is different as well. And what you'll find is in the second latter situation, you flow better, right? If you can let go of that. And this is where again, like, we have to experiment with like how that letting go actually happens, right? That process of letting go, what it is internally for each of us. And this is a sense that you get to feel, because again, the letting go is not happening right? It's not happening in words, right? I'm not saying like, oh yeah, internally, like, because that again can be more resistance, right? But there's just a feeling inside, right? It's like an energy that sort of understands this, right? It behaves in this way where it will actually let that thing go. And that's when you can really find like the force is, it's a beautiful thing to actually experience that. Like, I can actually, and you come closer to the state, right? You come closer to the state of peace, of harmony, of bliss, because you're not fighting as much. There isn't like a tendency to like, you're not in combat. It's so powerful. Like, you start to like really fine tune, right? Like how I'm actually fighting. You start to actually experience it, and then you start to soften internally, right? Again, in the way that you can't really understand in your mind, but like you start to feel it in your body, how to actually soften, and the times that you actually do soften versus the time that you resist, and your sense for that actually develops. And anytime that you make very significant progress in your life, right? Fear will come, like, just, that's how it is. You'll notice that the tendency there is to fight, because sometimes the fear gets so bigger, right? And sometimes when the fear gets so bigger, then again, you can return to the task, right? You can turn to the activity. You can return to the thing that sort of helps you be in your true place, because now the fear is so great, right? That it's deterring you from being in the true place. And so you can return to the activity, right? And that's what I just did right there, because I realized that, when the fear comes in such magnitude, then our tendency is to fight it. And that's when we sigh. That's when we deep breathe, right? But actually what we need to be doing in that moment is just letting it go. And you realize I actually don't have to fight it. Like there actually isn't. Like that's why these things are being worked out, because there's a deeper fear that has like the wrong. It's believing the wrong thing about yourself. And if you're a people pleaser, what it often believes is the belief that somebody else, right, believed about you that was wrong, right? And so you realize, oh, actually I don't have to fight it.